Sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and could even keep you from the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. I always think it's funny that I intimidate people, or that some people are intimidated by me and they avoid me or, won't really engage me in conversation. And I see it and I understand that. And if I'm fine, I'm great at sales, whatever, right? Or they kind of step around because I guess I make people nervous. I don't mean to do that. I'm kind of a nice guy. I'm just direct. I just am curious, and I don't like small talk and bullshit, right? I like to have real conversations with people, and I guess that intimidates some people. It shouldn't, though, because my guess is if you get used to having really good, direct conversations, you'll probably enjoy that too, and you'll get sick and tired of bullshit conversations, which, of course, bullshit conversations often happen in sales, which is part of what I'm trying to help you with is not to have bullshit conversations. So one of the ways that people are more comfortable engaging with me that I don't meet face-to-face or that don't want to talk about anything with me face-to-face, they'll send me a message on LinkedIn. And that's been cool because the last couple of months, I bet I get one or two a day. And if you're listening to this podcast and you've got some piece of content or a question, like, here's a problem I keep coming up with, I keep tripping over this, or this keeps happening, or I can't figure out how to do this regarding sales or business development or whatever that is, send me a message on LinkedIn. Reach out, connect with me. Send me a message on LinkedIn. Hey, Walker, heard your podcast, read your shit. And I had a question that I haven't heard you address or that I want to address, want you to address a different way. Do that. I've been getting lots of that, and it's super fun for me. It gives me ideas for content. So I got a message from a lawyer, friend of mine, never talked to him about business before. And he said, Walker, I struggle with, how do I convince prospects? He called them clients, right? How do I convince clients to do business with me when they're already doing business with, somebody, a more experienced, older person at another firm? How do I convince them to do that? And, and it's a great question. And I thought, well, the first thing is we got to stop with the idea of convincing. All right. Nobody wants to be convinced. Think about the last time somebody tried to sell you something by convincing you needed it. Can you think about that? It is obnoxious as shit, and people will run away from you, right? You tell them, you need to do this. It's important because this is why, and I'm better, and da-da-da-da. I mean, it's obnoxious, and it's shitty, and people will, as I said, run away from you. So here's the deal. When somebody is trying to convince you, or when you're trying to convince somebody else, what you're telling them is, I'm smarter than you, and you should listen to me. Well, guess how many people want somebody, some sales guy, some lawyer to say, I'm smarter than you, and you should listen to me before they've been invited to do so. Think about this. Your ideas, until somebody has paid you, are on equal ground with the people you're talking to. In other words, no better, no worse. Right? And so when you're barking at them or you're talking to them, they're sitting here thinking, do I believe this shit or not? Do I believe this shit or not? And when you're talking and they're listening, they're in control. Here's what I want you to think about. What you need to think about is, how can I draw from them information that can help me see whether or not they're ready to make a change? All right, remember, there are two questions your prospect has to answer themselves before they're going to make any changes. Number one, am I going to do anything different or differently? Am I going to do anything different or differently? Am I comfortable the way things are going right now? Any reason I shouldn't just keep doing, right? Because gravity is one of nature's strongest forces. Stay the same. People put up with a shitty situation over long periods of time because change is hard, right? But first of all, they got to make a decision. Am I going to do anything different or differently? And then question number two is, who would I do that with? Well, when we say we're trying to convince somebody to do business with us, we're starting with question number 2, which is the wrong place. Right? What we need to begin with is asking questions to figure out, do they even need to make a change? Is there anything in their current situation they've been accepting as normal that really is shitty? And you're not going to learn that by telling them that what they're getting is shitty. Right? We have to ask. And now everybody says, ask questions, ask questions. I heard a great commentary on this the other day that if we're really asking great questions, which I would call level 3 questions, right? Questions that are your prospects' opinions about their situation. Level 2 questions are learning their situation. Level 1 questions are learning just data, facts, right? Level 3, we're really making some ground. We're really connecting with the prospect, understanding what they think about their current situation, right? We're losing $1 million. Okay, that's a fact. But what do you think about that? Is that a big deal or not a big deal? Do you care? So first thing we need to figure out is, why in the world would they ever make a change? And so we can begin, right, by asking them. You've heard me do this before. It's called the good, bad questioning strategy, right? It's one way. Tell me something. Who you working with now? XYZ law firm. Great firm. Who there? John Smith. He's great. You're in good hands. You probably don't need to change. I'm always curious. Don't know what goes on over at that shop. What do you like best about that law firm and John Smith? What does he do that you really, really like? Here's what I want you to know. That question in itself, some people are very uncomfortable asking it. You need to know. But here's what also you're doing when you ask that question, and not just waiting for their response. You are causing them, your prospect, to think about their situation, to go, never thought about that, what I like. Well, I like this and this and this. And then they'll say, it's pretty interesting. And as long as you just agree with them, I've heard that about those guys. They're very good. They're really good at this, this, and this. Just like you said, I agree with you. You know what? You get a little check mark in their head for did not argue with me. I said something that was not in salesperson's best interest and they didn't argue with me. Maybe I can trust them. So you learn what they do well. Understand that's the balance. That's the baseline of what they'll expect from you. You need to know what their expectations are. If one of the things they like is he doesn't charge me anything, does it for free, my guess is probably not going to be a very good prospect for you. You don't even want them as a client if they're not paying. Ask what they like. And then we say, hey, look, on the other hand, here's what I know. I'm not perfect. My firm isn't perfect. I can't imagine those guys are perfect. If there were one thing you wish they did better or differently, what would that be? Right? And they're going, well, I guess I wish they did this or that or this. Whenever they share something that they don't like, be a little surprised. Really? Okay, what else? Okay, what else? Continue to ask what else. Once again, this is a positive stroke to your prospect and also allows them to go, let me think about that. Let me think about that. Let me think about that. The more you can get your prospect to go back and think, the better off you'll be. Number one, you learn how they think. Number two, you're encouraging them to think, which I got to be honest with you, most salespeople don't encourage their prospects to think. This is another way you're going to differentiate yourself. And every time you do that, so you learn what the problems are, right? Then you at least have a place to start. But they've been processing like, damn, I never thought about that. Or, this really does bug me, right? They don't have to come out of their mouth, but they're sharing the problems. Then you can go back and dive in and say, tell me more about that one. What do you mean? Give me an example, right? And if they say, really, I can't think of anything that they could do better, that's fine. Take that. There's a second powerful tool. I know I've shared it with you. I know I've talked about it, but I just want to reiterate. Instead of saying something that you believe is great about your company, about your firm or your company, hey, instead of saying, we've got better lawyers, we're smarter, I'm the guy you should hire, I'll do a better job than him. You know what you sound like? An arrogant jackass. And most of us, right? I grew up in this little southern town. I don't want to say nice things about myself. I don't want to do that. It makes me uncomfortable. But you know what's easier? Is if I'm able to say, can I tell you what some of my clients have told me? Let's pretend I'm that lawyer I was talking about, right? I say, it's interesting. I've got a lot of folks that used to work with other law firms. They work with senior partners at other firms. And when they came over and became my clients, they said things like, what's great? When I reach out to you, I can get you on the phone on the first try. I also like the way you look at things. You have a fresh approach to the issues we've been facing for a long time, and that's been tremendously helpful. I also appreciate the fact that when I call, you don't bill me for every 35 seconds I'm on the phone. What a nice way, right? And so now your prospect goes, wow, that's what other people say. That must be good. As opposed to, I'm smarter, I'm better, I look at things in a more creative way, and I won't bill you for every 35 seconds on the phone. Right? Me. Bullshit. Here's what other people are saying about me. Here's what other people say about working with us. Here's why other people said they switched to us. I don't know if any of those things matter to you. Right? I don't know if any of those things even matter to you. Things need to be your prospect's idea. I don't want you to lead people. I would rather you push back on people and let them come back at you. Here's why some people have switched to us. May not make sense for you to do that. You're probably not experiencing that. Because really, they're probably not. Because if they were, they might have been seeking out help somewhere else. Assume that everything's fine. Assume that they're okay. Assume that it's not the right time to switch. Remember those two mindsets we have to have at the same time. Number one, be absolutely certain that if somebody buys from you, hires you, they've made a great choice, that you'll take great care of them, that things are going to be better for them. The problems they said will go away. Be certain of that. But at the same time, be very, very skeptical that they're ready to make a change. So through your questions, through your actions, through telling stories of what other people say, through digging in to find out what they like and what they don't like, have them have seeds planted in their mind to say, wow, this is different. And yeah, I never thought about that. I never occurred to me. All of a sudden, you're that person that's begun to help them. You've already created a bond, and it's much more comfortable to say, do you think it makes sense to have a further business conversation? I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. If you're a professional, need help selling, it's very uncomfortable for you, or you feel like you could do better, or you're expected to do better, you're not sure what to do, let's have a conversation. 803-917-2817. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you're struggling to close deals, then I want to invite you to take my free mini course, where you'll learn the 7 most expensive sales mistakes that will cost you time, money, and credibility. So be sure to click the link in the show notes or go to www.7salesmistakes.com. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.